All right, we're about to go back in time, over a century actually, to dig into one of America's most chilling and, well, just plain baffling cold cases. It was a single night of unbelievable violence that left a scar on a small town that you could argue has never really healed. This is the anatomy of the Villisca Axe Murders.
So, to really get the shock of this crime, you have to picture the scene. It's 1912 in Villisca, Iowa. We're talking about a tiny, tight-knit farming community right in the heart of the Midwest. You know, the kind of place where everybody knows everybody, and the idea of locking your doors at night, it was practically unheard of. Just a peaceful, totally ordinary American town.
And then, that peace was just shattered. In a single night, 8 people were murdered in their sleep. 8! 2 adults and 6 children. That number alone sent this wave of absolute terror through a community that was completely, totally unprepared for anything like this.
To really grasp the horror, you have to know who was lost. And this story, it really begins with a family that was, by all accounts, right at the heart of their community.
So, let's meet the Moores. You had Josiah, who was a really successful and respected local businessman. He and his wife Sarah were busy raising their 4 young, energetic kids. They were super active in their church, always at social events. I mean, they were truly seen as pillars of Villisca. Just a happy, normal family.
And this is where the human cost just becomes staggering. All 4 of the Moore children, Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and little Paul, were killed. But they weren't alone. 2 neighborhood girls, Lena and Ina Stillinger, were just having a sleepover that night. Think about that. 6 of the 8 victims were just kids.
The night before all of this had been completely ordinary, but the morning that followed, well, that would go down as one of the most infamous days in Iowa's history.
So this timeline here, it really maps out those last normal moments. It all started at a church event, a happy community thing. They were seen walking home around 10 that night. But the next morning, a neighbor noticed the house was just eerily quiet. Too quiet. By 8 a.m., after her calls weren't answered, the horrific discovery was made, and the town's nightmare officially began.
And this became the question. It's the question that immediately consumed not just Villisca, but pretty soon the entire country. The search for a monster was on, and it would end up tearing that town apart.
The investigation that followed was, well, chaotic is putting it mildly. It was a mess from the very start. But out of that chaos, a few key suspects started to emerge, and each one had a pretty compelling, if not totally proven, story.
Okay, so let's look at this lineup. First up, you have Frank F. Jones. This guy was a powerful state senator and Josiah's old boss. Josiah had quit to open his own competing store and took a ton of business with him. The rivalry was intense, and the rumor was that Jones hired a hitman. Then there's William Mansfield. Investigators believed he might be linked to a whole string of terrifyingly similar axe murders across the Midwest. And maybe the most chilling one? Reverend Henry Lee Moore, a traveling preacher who, just a few months after Villisca, murdered his own mother and grandmother with an axe. So many possibilities, right? But zero hard proof.
And that quote right there, it really says it all. With no clear answers and the terrifying thought that the killer could be living right there among them, the town just turned on itself. Accusations were flying everywhere, lifelong friendships were completely destroyed, and this deep-seated paranoia just took over. The community really became a second victim of the crime. Okay, so this is where the case gets even weirder. While the investigators were struggling to connect a person to the crime scene itself, well, it painted a very, very disturbing picture of the killer.
The killer's actions were just methodical and bizarre. They covered the victims' faces after they were dead. They draped cloths over every single mirror in the house, almost as if they couldn't stand to see their own reflection. And then there's this one detail that has become one of the strangest in American true crime history. They left a slab of raw bacon leaning against the wall right next to their axe. This wasn't just random violence. It felt like some kind of ritual.
So you're probably wondering, with all these suspects and all these strange clues, why on earth has this case never been solved? Well, the answer really lies in the catastrophic failure of the investigation itself. Honestly, the investigation was pretty much doomed from the start. Before the scene was even secured, literally scores of curious townspeople just trampled through the house, touching everything, contaminating it all. You had multiple police forces and private eyes all competing, sometimes even working against each other. And this is critical, this was right on the cusp of modern forensics. Things like fingerprinting were brand new, and stuff we take for granted now, like DNA, that was pure science fiction. The Villisca murders became this brutal lesson in why you need professional scientific crime scene processing. So, the end result of all that chaos? A complete and total failure of justice. I mean, despite multiple investigations, a couple of grand juries, and even 2 separate trials against different suspects years apart, no one was ever held responsible for the murders of 8 people.
So the case went cold, but the story? Oh, the story was far from over. It kind of left reality and entered the realm of American folklore, a ghost story with very real victims.
For Villisca, and really for a lot of small towns like it, these murders marked the end of an era of innocence. For the first time, people started locking their doors. Strangers were suddenly viewed with suspicion. It just became this permanent dark chapter in the town's identity. A century later, the town is still synonymous with this one horrific event. It's like this collective trauma that's been passed down through generations, a wound that can't really heal because there's been no justice, no resolution.
And that leaves us right here with this final, haunting question. You know, with the case files cold and all the suspects long gone, real justice for the Moore family and the Stillinger girls seems, well, impossible. All that's left is a chilling story, a set of bizarre clues, and this profound sense of mystery that just refuses to fade away.